All right, if you're a history student, you've definitely seen an essay question like this before. It's an absolute classic, and for good reason. Today, we're not just going to talk about Lyndon B. Johnson and the Vietnam War. We're actually going to build the perfect essay answer step by step.
So this is it. This is our guiding question. How did Lyndon B. Johnson deal with U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War? To really nail this, you need to show you understand what was driving him, what he actually did, and of course, what happened as a result. Let's get into it.
Every great essay needs a clear structure. So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the situation Johnson inherited. Then, how he got the power to act. We'll cover the massive escalation, the strategy they used on the ground, the big turning point of the war, and finally, the political disaster it all became. Let's start with paragraph 1.
Okay, first things first for our essay. Johnson did not start the Vietnam War. That's a super important point. When he became president after JFK's assassination in late '63, America was already involved. He basically walked into a situation that was completely tangled up in the high-stakes politics of the Cold War. And the one idea driving everything for the Americans was this, the domino theory. The thinking was, if South Vietnam becomes communist, then bam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, the whole region would fall, just like a line of dominoes. So for Johnson, this wasn't some small regional fight. It was a major front in the global war against communism.
And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute core of Johnson's other huge worry, American credibility. He was terrified of the U.S. looking weak or like an unreliable partner. In his world, pulling out of Vietnam would be a signal to everyone, friends and enemies, that America doesn't keep its promises. He just couldn't let that happen.
So you can feel the pressure building on LBJ, right? He feels like he has to do something big. But a president can't just send hundreds of thousands of troops to war. He needs legal authority. And he gets it from one single, incredibly controversial event.
So in August of 1964, reports come in that North Vietnamese boats attacked U.S. ships in the Gulf of Tonkin. Now, the details of what actually happened are murky, to say the least, and have been disputed for years. But Johnson seized the moment. He went to Congress and got the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution passed, which gave him the power to take all necessary measures.
And that resolution was, for all intents and purposes, a blank check. It let Johnson wage a full-scale war without ever having to ask Congress for a formal declaration of war. For your essay, this is a non-negotiable must-have point. It's the legal basis for everything that comes next.
So now Johnson has this blank check, and boy does he cash it. This is where we get to the real heart of our essay question. How did he deal with the war? Well, his answer was to go all in. He escalated things on a scale nobody saw coming.
You can break his escalation down into three main parts. 1. Boots on the ground. In March '65, the first official U.S. combat troops, the Marines, land at Da Nang. 2. A massive surge in troop numbers. And 3. Operation Rolling Thunder, which was just this relentless, sustained bombing campaign against North Vietnam.
Just look at these numbers. They tell the whole story. He starts with about 16,000 military advisors, and by 1968, there are over 500,000 American soldiers in Vietnam. This wasn't a slow buildup. This was Johnson deciding to Americanize the entire war. His answer to the problem was just overwhelming force.
Okay, so you've got this gigantic army in Vietnam. But what's the actual plan? What are all those soldiers supposed to be doing? This leads us to the next key part of our essay, the military strategy itself.
The strategy was called attrition. It's a grim, simple concept. The plan was to kill enemy soldiers faster than North Vietnam could replace them. Seriously, that was it. Victory wasn't measured in territory gained or cities captured. It was all about the body count. The hope was that eventually the enemy would just lose the will to fight.
So U.S. troops went on these search and destroy missions, and every day the big question was, what's the body count? But here's the problem. They were fighting an enemy, the Viet Cong, who absolutely refused to play by those rules. The Viet Cong used guerrilla tactics, ambushes, booby traps, melting into the jungle. It was a total mismatch of strategies.
And the cost? It was just staggering. By 1967, the war was costing $30 billion a year. Think about that. This was money that Johnson was desperate to use for his great society, his ambitious plans to fight poverty and racism back home. Instead, all that cash was just being poured into the jungles of Vietnam.
For years, the message from the Johnson administration was clear. We're winning. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then, 1968 happened. The Tet Offensive happened.
And that light at the end of the tunnel, it turned out to be an oncoming train.
So, during the Vietnamese New Year holiday, called Tet, the communists launched this massive, coordinated surprise attack all across South Vietnam. Now, militarily, it was a huge failure for them. They took enormous casualties, but that's not what mattered. What mattered was what people saw on TV back in America, images of fighting on the grounds of the U.S. Embassy in Saigon. The war wasn't far away anymore. It was right there in their living rooms.
And then this happened. Walter Cronkite, he was basically the most trusted man in America, a legendary news anchor. He goes on TV after visiting Vietnam and tells the nation the war is mired in stalemate. This was a bombshell. If Walter Cronkite was saying the war was unwinnable, who are you going to believe?
And all of this creates something called the credibility gap. This is another essential term for your essay. It's that massive chasm between the optimistic reports coming from the White House and the brutal reality people were now seeing with their own eyes. Public trust in Johnson and the government just evaporated. So, back to our question. How did Johnson deal with the war? Well, he dealt with it by escalating. And the Tet Offensive proved in front of the whole world that his strategy had completely failed. The political fallout was immediate, and it was devastating for him.
You can just feel his frustration in this private quote. He felt completely trapped. This war wasn't just unwinnable on the battlefield, it was destroying everything he wanted to achieve as president, especially his Great Society programs.
And then, in March of 1968, Johnson gave his final, shocking answer to the Vietnam problem. He gets on national television, he announces a stop to most of the bombing, he calls for peace talks. And then, the stunner. He announces he will not run for re-election. The war had officially broken his presidency.
So let's wrap this all up into a nice, clean conclusion for our essay. How did LBJ deal with Vietnam? He took a limited commitment that he inherited, secured the power to do whatever he wanted, and chose a path of massive military escalation. But his strategy of attrition was a failure against a guerrilla army. The Tet Offensive shattered his political credibility, and the war ultimately cost him his presidency.
But it leaves us with one last big question to think about. Was this all on Johnson? Or was the war in Vietnam simply an unwinnable trap for any American president who got involved? That's something to really chew on. Thanks for checking out this explainer.